Welcome back. I'm Teacher Kayla, and I'm so glad that you're joining me today. It has been a heck of a past few weeks, just meaning it's been very hectic and crazy with the election going on in America. If you're just tuning into this video and you haven't been following along with things, we recently just had our presidential election here in America, and it has been anything but boring. I'm not going to get into the controversy of it all, but I do want you to have a better understanding of the things that you are hearing and reading about the election. So today I want to go over some words and phrases as well as a rundown of how the election works to give you a better understanding of it all. All right, are you ready to get more patriotic? Okay, let's get into it. The basics, parties and candidates. First off, it's important to note that America has a two-party system, Republicans and Democrats. Now, there's a lot of varying definitions or explanations out there, but I'll give you a basic understanding of what each of the parties stand for. Democrats, who are often referred to as liberals, believe in independent freedoms, social progress, and a role for government in ensuring equality and protecting civil rights. Republicans, on the other hand, advocate for less government involvement. They usually lean on religion as their foundation, and they have more conservative values when it comes to social issues like abortion or LGBTQ plus rights. Now, it's also important to note that independent parties do exist within the election, but we have not had a president from an independent party since the very first president was elected. So it doesn't seem likely that we will see another one anytime soon. The candidates. Our two primary candidates, or those individuals running for office, are Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is a Republican candidate, and he served as the 45th president of the United States and is now looking to serve another term. Each presidential term is 4 years long. A president can only ever serve 2 terms, and Donald Trump has proven that those terms do not need to be consecutive or back to back, like many of the other presidents have chosen to do. Kamala Harris is the Democratic candidate, and she has served as vice president to President Joe Biden, who will end his presidency at the beginning of January of next year. When Joe decided to step down as a presidential candidate, Kamala stood up and took his place to run against Trump. Before the race. So before anything really gets started, each candidate must register and announce their intention to run for presidency. We call the election the race, and we say that each candidate is running for president. This process happens typically a year prior to the election. After all of the candidates have registered, it's time for the primary elections. Primaries are held 6 to 9 months before the election, and these are basically a pre-election where votes are handled just like the standard election where they have a secret ballot. These votes are used to determine each party's nominated candidate. Caucuses are usually handled more publicly in group meetings. Each political party divides up into groups. They divide up based on Democrats, Republicans, and undecided. Each group is then able to give their pitch to get voters to join their side. In both of these cases, the results are used to select delegates. The delegates are who will represent each party during the national convention. National conventions are where the delegates from each state come together and cast their votes based on the primary and caucus results. The presidential candidate with the majority of the delegates wins the nomination and officially becomes the presidential nominee. The presidential nominee then announces who will be their vice president. During the race, once each party has determined their presidential nominee along with their running mate, who is the vice president chosen by the nominee, then that's when things can really get started. It all starts with each party's campaign. The campaign is their organized effort to win the election. Both candidates have campaign teams that help them with speeches, debates, and advertising. These campaigns allow each of the candidates to share their views on key issues and policies, and it allows them to connect with the voters within the community. It really helps them to establish their platform. A candidate's platform is their values, their beliefs, and what they promise to work on if they are chosen. For example, Trump's platform focuses on lowering tax rates for higher income brackets, gun rights, deporting immigrants, and massive changes against environmental organizations or policies. Harris's platform focuses on increasing the money taken home by the everyday worker, lowering inflation, increasing security at the borders, and fighting to live free of pollution. During the general election campaign, each of the candidates will take part in a variety of debates. Debates are when the candidates come together for formal discussions about major issues within their platforms. Political rallies are public events where candidates, political parties, or advocacy groups can gather supporters to share their message, encourage voter participation, and just get people excited about the upcoming election. Swing states. It's important to mention swing states when we're talking about the election because swing states are very important. Swing states are those states that basically could go either way within the election. Candidates are likely to focus on swing states because these states are still undecided and it's a pretty big possibility that one party could win them over. This year, the swing states included Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The voting process. So how does voting in the U.S. presidential election work? Voting happens on the first Tuesday in November during election year, which happens every 4 years for the presidential election in America. Polls. The polls are basically a prediction of who might win the election based on a sampling of votes. The polls are not always accurate, but they may help predict who could actually win. Leading up to election day, you are likely to hear about which candidate is leading the polls. Popular vote. The popular vote is what comprises all of the votes from Americans that are voting in the election. Contrary to popular belief, we don't actually use the popular vote to determine the president. We use the popular vote to determine the representatives or the electorals from each state that will vote based on the popular vote in their state. Electoral college. So just like I said, the U.S. doesn't elect a president based on popular vote alone. Instead, it uses the electoral college. This is a system where each state is allowed a certain amount of electoral votes based on population. The candidate who wins the most of these electoral votes becomes the next president, and they must get at least 270 of the electoral votes to become president, if you wanted to know the exact number. Making everything official. Once the popular votes are finalized, each state will take time to officially finalize the results. They may need to recount votes, etc. In December, the Electoral College will cast their official vote. So back to the voting process, the chosen electorals will cast their official vote for presidency at this time. Congress will count these votes and formally declare the winner of the election. There are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes to prepare the new president-elect to take their position. The president-elect hires a team to help them with this transition. The next big important day is Inauguration Day. On January 20th, the presidential-elect is sworn into office and can officially start their term as president. If you haven't already heard, our new president-elect is Donald Trump. All right, that's all for today. You now have an incredible amount of knowledge about how the presidential election works in America, as well as a vast amount of new, rich vocabulary that you can use to talk about the election with people in America or impress your friends. All right, I will see you next time. Goodbye.